In a cozy little hole in the wall of a quaint countryside cottage lived a small, clever mouse named Max. Max was no ordinary mouse. He was known throughout the cottage for his quick thinking and bravery. But what he loved most in the world was cheese. Max had tasted all sorts of cheeses: cheddar, brie, Gouda, and even a bit of camembert that once fell off the table. His whiskers would twitch with excitement whenever he caught a whiff of cheese. One sunny afternoon, as Max was scurrying about in search of crumbs, he overheard the farmer's wife talking to her husband. "I bought a big block of the finest cheese today for the harvest festival tomorrow," she said. "It's stored safely in the pantry." Max's ears perked up at the word cheese. His little heart started to race. A whole block of the finest cheese. Max knew he had to get his paws on it. But the pantry was no easy place to break into. The farmer's wife always kept the door shut, and there was a mousetrap right by the shelf where the cheese was kept. Max spent the rest of the day devising a plan. He decided that the only way to get to the cheese was to be patient and careful. He waited until the house was dark and quiet, with the farmer and his wife fast asleep. Silently, Max crept out of his hole and made his way to the pantry door. He wiggled through a tiny crack at the bottom of the door, just wide enough for him to squeeze through. The air in the pantry was filled with the rich aroma of the cheese, and Max's mouth watered. But there it was, the mousetrap, sitting dangerously close to the shelf. Max knew he had to be extremely cautious. He noticed that the cheese on the mousetrap was just a small piece, but it was placed so that any attempt to grab it would surely set off the trap. Max decided it wasn't worth the risk. The big block of cheese was his real prize. Max took a deep breath and began to climb up the wooden shelves. He moved slowly and steadily, careful not to make a sound. Finally, he reached the top shelf, where the huge block of cheese sat, glowing softly in the moonlight that filtered through a tiny window. Max's eyes widened as he marveled at the size of the cheese. It was bigger than him. There was no way he could carry it all back to his hole in one go. So Max decided to take just a small piece, as much as he could carry. He nibbled off a corner of the cheese and carefully made his way back down. Just as he was about to leave the pantry, he had an idea. Max thought about the other mice in the cottage, who also loved cheese but were too afraid to venture into the pantry. He knew that if he took all the cheese for himself, the others would go hungry. So, Max went back to the cheese and broke off several small pieces, one for each of his friends. Max carefully placed each piece in a neat pile near the crack in the door. He then pushed them one by one through the crack and hurriedly scurried back to his hole, dragging his own piece of cheese behind him. The next morning, the other mice were delighted to find the cheese waiting for them outside their holes. Max watched from the shadows as his friends chattered excitedly about the mysterious gift. He felt a warm glow of satisfaction in his heart, knowing he had done the right thing. When the farmer's wife came to check on the cheese, she noticed a small corner missing. She frowned but thought nothing of it, assuming it had been nibbled by some little creature. Little did she know that Max had not only outsmarted the mousetrap, but had also shared his treasure with the other mice. From that day on, Max became the hero of the cottage. The other mice admired him not just for his cleverness, but for his generosity. Max continued to enjoy cheese whenever he could,